Hi everybody! So I know you probably noticed right away that I'm recording on a different camera, and the reason for that is because this camera, which is the Nikon Coolpix L620, this camera gave me so many problems during that recording of the DIY video, and while the quality was great, it kept turning off on me like every few seconds at a time. It would say that the battery was exhausted and it would shut off. So it took me forever to record that video that really should have only taken me like 15, maybe 20 minutes max to record, and it ended up taking me over an hour. So I was really frustrated with it. I was so mad. I ended up going for a walk in the middle of in the middle of what was supposed to be my recording time. I went out for a walk. I came back. As you can tell at the very end of the video, my hair is a little messy. As you can see in the title, this is another paranormal vlog, and this was actually a request in my inbox here on my YouTube channel. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little hesitant about this only because I don't like talking about it. But it was requested to talk about my most horrifying, most memorable experience with paranormal. Yeah, I don't like talking about it very much, but I guess I have to. Okay, sorry, I'm hoping that that light actually kind of helps with the lighting situation because it's like, oh, dark and then light. Sorry. Okay, so this goes back to when I was married. I was about 20 years old, and I was actively paranormal investigating, and I was really unhappy in my life, just period. I was having a really bad postpartum after having my oldest, Leilani. I was just really depressed. I was really upset with my marriage. I was really upset with my life. I just felt like I had nothing to be happy about. While having that mindset, while doing paranormal investigating, I never really thought that it would be a big deal because I didn't believe in that kind of stuff. I went to paranormal investigations all the time and didn't think anything of it. And I was actually even okay with having that mindset. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to be a better person, screw the world and the people in it kind of thing. I used a different word, but I'm not going to use that on here. I want this to be age appropriate at least a little bit. Yeah, one investigation I distinctly remember, there was really nothing special about it. Really nothing at all. It was just normal debunking investigation, pretty much EMF fields and everything. That night, I went home, went to bed, everything was normal, and I was having a hard time going to sleep. And I didn't really think much about it, but I was trying to force myself, so I was kind of forcing myself to have like a little daydream about Harry Potter. It was just a way to help me go to sleep. I felt myself get turned away from that. Like I went from falling into a sleep thinking about Harry Potter to all of a sudden like my perspective was like changed. It was just black. Just solid black. And then all of a sudden this girl popped up. And she was just white as paper, only black lines to define her. I mean, of course, she was three-dimensional, but she was just solid white. And she had these gigantic baby blue eyes. And at first I thought, oh, that's cute. And then almost as instantly as I thought that, she disappeared. And I was just left alone for a couple of seconds. And then she reappeared just as quick, but her eyes were gone. And then she had all these pock marks on her face and her hair was tousled. And I was like, oh, interesting. She started grabbing me. And she grabbed my arms and she was just kind of like pulling me down by my forearms. She just had me and she was just pulling me down. And I like kind of like taffy in a way, but it was like she kept grabbing the same part of my arm, just like pulling me down, pulling me further. And at first I was like, what the heck are you doing? Just kind of letting her. And then something like in my thought just kind of was like, what are you doing? You need to fight back. And I was like, huh, why? And then I realized I was underneath the house. So I looked up and I could almost see like the silhouette of the walkway to the front door because my bedroom was in the front of the house. Still is. And so I saw the silhouette of the walkway next to where my wall would be, and then I saw the bed, and I saw an imprint of my body. Like, I saw, like, the butt and the legs and everything, and I was like, that's my body. I was like, holy shit, I'm being dragged out of my body. It's like, I turned and looked at her, and she was still doing the same thing, just pulling me down. I started fighting back, and I kept saying, let go. You need to let go. You need to let go. And she just kept pulling, just like nobody's business. And I was like trying to pull her off of me. It was just one of those things, like, you know, when you're fighting with a kid, like, you try to get them off of you, and no matter what you do, they're just like climbing you like a rope kind of thing. And that's what she was doing. I was like, no, 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 you need to let go, let go. And finally, with all my might, I just said, let go. And she snapped back, and then all of a sudden, I was in front of this house. Right? Weird. I was just right in front of this house. The house in front of me had like these curved in outputs, I guess you could say, that was the entire architecture of the house, because it was a one-story, and it was just very flat. Like, it didn't have a special roof or anything like that. It was just very flat, very one-story, very simple. And there was an arch that went to the main doorway, and it was just kind of in shadow a little bit, but you could still see the front door. It was a very square, wooden, kind of old school, well, not really old school, but kind of very medieval kind of looking house with the door, how it was. Looked like a heavy door, basically. I was like, oh, well, I'm here for a reason, so I need to go knock on the door. And as I go to walk up to the door, I notice that my daughter's with me, and I have her in my hand. Well, I have her hand in mine. My husband at the time, he was to the right of me. And so I go to knock up, and go to walk up to the door to knock. And then all of a sudden, like, I cringed as I heard this key jingling in a tin can. And then in my mind's eye, I saw a key, a skeleton-shaped key, in a tin can being rattled. And so I looked over to my left where it was, and in the shadow of one of the curves of the architecture of the house, I saw like a blob of a shadow. At first, my initial instinct was to go up to him and get the key from him. But then I stopped almost immediately. I was like, no, he's in the shadow. I don't like how he's in the shadow like that, kind of taunting me with the key. I left it as it was, and I was like, I think we should just go. And my husband at the time, he told me, he goes, in the dream, of course, he goes, yeah, I don't think anybody's home anyway, so why don't we just go? So he goes out where this big curved kind of archway that went to what looked like a driveway in. And so I looked one more time, I heard the jingle one more time, saw it in my mind's eye, and I was like, no, not now. So I took my daughter in hand, and I went with her following him. It was pretty cool to have such that, because that's pretty much where it ended, because after that it got really stupid, and that's where I figured, oh, I'm dreaming, I need to wake up now. And I wasn't able to sleep for 3 days after that. I had to get an ankh, and the ankh that I had at the time, because the ankh is my symbol, the ankh that I got at the time I don't have anymore. And I had another one, but then I had to replace that one. So now I have this one. That is the one that I always wear. I always have with me, no matter where I go, what I do. I mean, of course, I don't wear it in the shower, but still. Yeah, this thing is always with me. Always. I mean, I can't sleep unless it's at least in the room with me. If I know it's in the room, I can sleep. But if it's not, then I won't sleep. Which is why I've had 3 already, because I've had to replace them, otherwise I don't get to sleep. I went to a dream interpreter with that experience that I had, and she had been doing dream interpretations for, I believe, about 5 years at that point. And when I went to her with it, first thing she said was, never in her entire time of dream interpreting, or just in pure religious experiences, spiritual or not, never has she ever heard anybody having such a symbolic experience, dream, out-of-body experience, whatever you want to call it. And my first initial reaction was, what do you mean? Was it a dream, or was it really an out-of-body experience? Her response was that I seriously had a fight for my soul. When she first came to me, the girl, I saw her in her disguise. And because I saw through it, she wasn't able to hold that disguise anymore, and that's why she disappeared and came back. And then when she came back, it was her true form that I was seeing at that time. She was trying to pull me out of my body. For what reason, we don't know. Okay, so then when I was snapped out of it, and then I was in front of the house, because of the way I described the house and the walkway and everything, she said I was at the house of God. And the key was to get me in. But because I didn't have that in hand, it wasn't my time. But I could have made it my time if I went after it. And that was the taunting of the shadow with the key. And if I would have gone through with that, because that was on my left side, it symbolized that it was a dark demonic entity that was trying to taunt me into taking the key and to falling for it and going back into that whole getting pulled out of my body again. But since I sensed it wasn't my time, it wasn't ready, and I listened to my husband at the time of, you know what, let's just go, no one's home anyway. He, at that time in my dream, was symbolizing Jesus, and that I was to follow him. And since I did, I took the path of Jesus, I was saved, and yeah. So I'm not a very religious person, though. So when I heard the part about Jesus and everything, I was just kind of like, that's not really my belief, but I'll take it and I'll roll with it. I mean, you know, every dream interpreter would interpret it differently, I'm sure. For the most part, everybody that I've told this to, which isn't very many people, they've all said the same thing, that it was a very spiritual experience that they themselves have not heard before either. You know, while it's a cool thing to say, I've had an experience that not very many people have heard of before, at the same time, it's very terrifying for me to just kind of relive it. I hate it so hard. That's all for now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, or at least I horrified you as much as I've been horrified. I hope you guys have a great day. Don't forget to stalk me appropriately, facebook.com/YinYangSarah. Also Twitter and Instagram, spelled the same way, YinYangSarah. If you guys have any further questions or concerns, comments, whatever it may be, just put them in the comments below. I will gladly answer any questions anybody has, especially when it comes to paranormal. I love answering questions about paranormal. Always remember, the yin yang is balance, and the balance lies within yourself. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.